Can we talk during the countdown?
We're on a road to nowhere. Come on inside. Taking that ride to nowhere. We'll take that ride. I'm feeling okay this morning. And you know, we're on the road to paradise. Here we go, here we go. There's a city in my mind. Come along and take that ride, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. Would you like to come along, and you can help me sing this song, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. There's a city in my mind. Come along and take that ride, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day. It's alright, baby, it's alright. They could tell you what to do, but they'll make a fool of you, and it's alright, baby, it's alright.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I do see some people in the comments. Let me see if I can read anyone. Miguel, Crystal, thank you so much for tuning in. So I recognize you guys, but just in case we have any new viewers, a heads up, I am about 85% blind. So ignore me when I try to play clips and it takes a second, or I try to read my questions. Also, I cannot see your questions and comments. However, my guest is more than welcome to read and address any of them. So thank you so much to my guest tonight, journalist / documentarian, Dan Cohen. I'm sure you guys are familiar with him, but just in case, Dan, do you want to kind of loosely introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks a lot for having me, Joy. I'm Dan Cohen. I am an independent journalist, a grammatically correct independent journalist. And I'm just wrapping up my new documentary called Another Vision, Inside Haiti's Uprising, about the current uprising in Haiti. And it's kind of the background and shows this revolutionary armed movement that's at the center of this uprising, and kind of gives the backstory to the formation of it and what it's about, and debunks a lot of the propaganda about it. And so really looking forward to getting that out, and working with a major Haiti expert named Kim Ives, who is downstairs at my kitchen table right now. I've kidnapped him to finish up a little more work. And I did Killing Gaza, which is a documentary on the 2014 war on the Gaza Strip, Israeli war on the Gaza Strip, and done a bunch of investigative reporting on a number of different issues. So, yeah.
Yes, if you guys have not seen Killing Gaza, please watch it. It's intense, as it should be. It will affect you, as it should. If it doesn't, question yourself why. But yeah, I'm so excited to see your new documentary coming out. I kind of digress a bit, but when I think about Haiti, and every time I learn about it, I go back to 2016 when I was at the convention, Occupy DNC. There was a group of over 20 Haitians there protesting Hillary Clinton. Thousands of us were protesting her, but they were protesting her as well. And they had signs like, "Where is our money? Why did you ruin our lives?" And, it was so powerful. And I just remember standing in the pouring down rain with them as they were singing. And I just got goosebumps. It was so powerful and so beautiful. And it was, and it intrigued me to learn even more about just how bad it was for them because of her. Of course, not her alone, but, and, so it just kind of like loosely off topic, but when you were, meeting with people in Haiti and such, did anyone bring that up? Like how, she stole money from them during so-called raising it for them.
Yeah, I mean, Hillary Clinton, the Clintons have a special kind of place in the. They're especially hated by Haitians, and deservedly so, because I mean, what they did after the 2010 earthquake, and just pillaging huge amounts of money that was ostensibly sent for foreign aid. As Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton basically engineered the victory of one of the most corrupt politicians in recent memory in Haiti, which is saying a lot. A guy named Michel Martelly, whose nickname is Sweet Mickey. If you look him up, he's in my documentary. There's a little historical bit. There's a really hilarious clip of him dancing. He was a singer of like a popular style of music called compa, and he has these videos of him dancing and like rubbing his nipples and sticking his tongue out and all this stuff. And then he's like, at the State Department with Hillary Clinton in a suit. And
my God.
And Martelly, who was basically installed by Clinton as Secretary of State, just took huge amounts of money that Venezuela gave in a solidarity project to Haiti. Basically just here's a bunch of money, and Martelly just took it, just pocketed it. So, Hillary Clinton is just totally hated by Haitians. Some Haitians even supported Trump in the 2018 election because they hate Hillary Clinton so much. So when I was there, I mean, I didn't really talk to people about Hillary Clinton, but I mean, that's definitely a major, background of the situation.
Absolutely. You did just release, it's pinned. Actually it's not pinned, I don't believe. Actually I believe it is. Your investigative piece from last month. Definitely check it out if you guys have not seen it. It's on his Twitter. That is really alarming what you put in it. Can you just kind of describe how we are involved in yet again something involving another country that has nothing to do with us?
Yeah. I mean, is it possible to play the video in that pinned tweet? If not, don't worry about it. But
yes, let me pull that up.
Or maybe I can. Can I? If I press present? Oh yeah, maybe I can. Let me see. Bear with me. Maybe I can do it. I see I have a present button.
Oh.
Share screen, perhaps? With two monitors? No, but what if I do it like this? All right, bear with me. I think it'll be worth it. I have I think I have the video right here. Here we go. Maybe. I promise it'll be worth it. Here we go. I think I got it. Yep. Bingo. Okay.
There we go.
Can you see it?
The U.S. has.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay. So I'll just give a little background real quick. This is Dan Foote, as you can see, the former U.S. Special Envoy for Haiti. He was put in July 2021 and then resigned in September 2021, saying that he was opposed to the deportations of Haitian asylum seekers in Texas. If everyone remembers that, there were those famous photos of Border Patrol agents on horseback whipping, or I don't know if they're actually whipping the Haitians themselves, but really nasty photos. So he resigned ostensibly in protest of this, which I'll explain in a minute. But here's what he told me at a protest outside the White House.
The U.S. has two choices. They either reinforce the police now, probably using military trainers, so send a company of special forces trainers to teach the police and set up an anti-gang task force, or send 25,000 troops at some indeterminate but imminent period in the future.
So he's saying either send the military special forces like JSOC in order to train a hit squad inside the Haitian National Police, or the U.S. will basically have no choice but to send 25,000 troops in a full-on invasion, like the fourth in a century, I think. And so, obviously, he's totally in support of military intervention. So, pretty questionable record on belief in human rights there, as he was claiming, oh, I'm against the deportation of these Haitians, but he wants to invade Haiti one way or the other. And the reason he wants to train a hit squad inside the Haitian National Police is to take out the guy who was at the center of this uprising, a guy named Jimmy Cherizier. His nickname is
Isn't
Barbecue.
his middle name Barbecue?
It's not his middle name, it's his nickname.
Right.
But, so I put it in like quotes. It's Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier. A lot of people just call him Barbecue. I mean, it's his nickname since he was a kid. Because the story is there were a bunch of other Jimmys in his neighborhood, and so his mother was like sold grilled meats. She's like a street vendor who sold grilled meats on the road, and so he was called Barbecue. So that's how he got his nickname. So Barbecue is basically he's the leader of this federation of armed groups, basically neighborhood self-defense groups in Haiti, called the Revolutionary Forces of the G9 Family and Allies, which is a mouthful, so just G9 is what it's commonly known as. And they're totally dedicated to stamping out crime, getting rid of kidnappers and rapists and thieves, and just getting rid of all kinds of crime, which has plagued Haiti for a long time because of extreme poverty, thanks to U.S. empire. And the U.S. has through its kind of propaganda apparatus, through the State Department, through media outlets and so-called human rights groups funded by the National Endowment for Democracy, which is a CIA cutout. They have demonized Cherizier, this guy, Barbecue, we can call him. It's more memorable. They've demonized Barbecue. If you Google him, if you look up, Jimmy Cherizier, Barbecue, you just get the idea that he's a total monster. And so I will remove this thing. There we go. You get the idea. You'll just believe that he's a total monster and he's committed all these massacres and all these horrible things. And so so that's basically, Foote is saying we got to go get rid of him. Now, he is posing as an anti-Biden guy and saying Biden is supporting the current, what's called interim prime minister, a guy named Ariel Henry. Ariel Henry was involved in the assassination of the president last year. So it's very easy for Dan Foote to say, oh, Biden's supporting this guy, he's deporting these Haitians. We got to, change horses here. And so what Dan Foote, who we just saw, and basically the whole Washington establishment is doing, is they want to go from Ariel Henry, the current interim prime minister, who is seen by all Haitians as a complete puppet of the United States. They want to essentially get rid of him and put in the opposition group, which is called the Montana Accord. The Montana Accord is just a group of so-called civil society and NGO types, most of which are, a lot of which are funded by the U.S., tied to the U.S., total tools of the U.S., just like Ariel Henry, but it has a much nicer face. So then they're much better partners for U.S. empire. And so if the Montana Accord gets in, then the U.S. believes, and Dan Foote believes that, well, then Haitians will believe in, these guys, and then we can work with them in order to train that hit squad to take out barbecue. So that's the whole plan in Washington right now in like a nutshell. And so my video, what I was trying to do is show that, what the bigger plot is here. It's really, of course, easy to say down with Ariel Henry, which is what everyone in Haiti is saying right now. And Ariel Henry should definitely not be in office. He was never elected. It's totally unconstitutional by the Haitian constitution. But the alternative in terms of what the mainstream political parties want is just the status quo. It's going to be more of the same. They don't want to deal with any of the conditions in Haiti. Total, extreme poverty. If you go to Haiti and, particularly around the port where millions of dollars of material, of goods, products pass through on a daily basis, right next to that is the most extreme poverty in the Western Hemisphere. Just, all the photos that all the worst things you can imagine. People living on like less than $1 a day and digging through trash to survive, and dirty water everywhere and sewage flooding homes, and now there's another cholera outbreak. So neither of the elite political groupings want to address that. That's just they want all that to stay the same because they make huge amounts of money off of that situation, and they send their families to go live in France or Canada or the US, and they just treat Haiti as a little piggy bank. That's what Barbecue said to me once. They just treat Haiti as a piggy bank. So my piece is about this, what Dan Foote called an imminent U.S. intervention, whether, by special ops, training that hit squad, or by, going the full fist, the full military might of the U.S., well, full military might, but, full-on invasion. And then the documentary, which is going to come out very soon, shows the background to all of this, so we can understand that moment. It's almost like there's 3 parts to the documentary. It's almost like this piece I just did is like the 4th part, So that is essentially, that's a synopsis of kind of what's happening in Haiti right now in my piece.
So a few questions on that. Why does Foote believe, if he's so outraged by this, why does he think he's going to have more power outside than staying in? And like, I guess, like, how does he address that?
Right. So his whole thing, it's, like when in the Trump era, when liberals and Democrats would pretend to be like, we're anti-Trump, and it would be like a way to advance some of the like exact same policies, but it would give them this like aura of like, we're better than Trump. We're not like him,
Right, right.
Now that's what Foote is doing with Biden. So he's like, look, my whole job, Foote's job was to go into Haiti and train the Haitian National Police, train that hit squad. That's his key thing, to take out the so-called gangs. Gangs being a pejorative term for this revolutionary group. And there are, if we think, what are gangs? Gangs are criminal armed groups, right? There are criminal armed groups that are supported by oligarchs in the US that fight Jimmy Cherizier, that fight Barbecue and his group, the G9. So they're all, I just generally avoid the term gangs, even though we use it in the documentary a little bit. But there are gangs, except they're basically on the side of the U.S. They're like doing the bidding of the U.S. and its, local elites that it supports. So Foote's whole thing is he saw this opportunity, to say, all right, we got to get rid of this guy, Ariel Henry, and go with the opposition. And in order to do that, I'm going to, take this horrifying image of these Haitians being rounded up by Border Patrol agents on horseback, resign and say, oh, this is so bad. You're supporting this very bad guy, which is true. And then instead just say, we got to, support these other very bad guys, these other very bad people, the Montana group, the opposition, which basically all of Washington wants to switch to. Their leader is a woman named Magali Como-Denis, who was involved in the 2004 U.S. orchestrated coup d'etat against the democratically elected and most popular leader in the history of Haiti, the president Jean-Bertrand Aristide. And so the current interim prime minister, Ariel Henry, was involved in that coup. So was the opposition to him. So it's just like the U.S. is like, well, this puppet is not very popular, and it's very obvious that he's a puppet. So we got to go with this other puppet, and maybe Haitians will believe in that, and then we can maintain this system of total exploitation and extreme poverty. I do. Okay, so there's one question I see in the chat. How did the G9 get their weapons? How does the G9 get their weapons? We've asked about that. I don't know. I don't quite understand it, but there are huge amounts of weapons in Haiti that basically they all come from the U.S. So some kind of supplier, shipping weapons from the U.S. and I don't actually know who it is or anything like that.
But it's not through the military or something like that.
Definitely no. There's there are investigations you can read in the Miami Herald about Florida's extremely lax gun laws make it extremely easy to ship guns and bullets into places like Haiti because it's so close. So you'll see now there's actually a huge push from the U.S., the Biden administration, to try to cut off the weapons to the G9. And they're saying, we're going to sanction anyone who's providing weapons to them. And
there's a sanction on barbecue, right?
He's the only so-called gang leader who is under U.S. sanctions. So that really says a lot about what the U.S.'s agenda is here. Compare Barbecue, who has never kidnapped anyone, and the G9 has not kidnapped anyone. There are no credible accusations of kidnappings. They've all been debunked that the G9 was alleged to have carried out, totally debunked, and from NED sources. Compare that to a group called the 400 Maozo, which is a bitter enemy of the G9, and they fought a lot, and they are responsible. Last year, they were responsible for 80% of the kidnappings in Haiti. So the 400 Maozo, their leader, is not under U.S. sanctions. None of them are under U.S. sanctions. None of the actual criminals are under sanctions. Only Jimmy Cherizier, Barbecue, the guy who is fighting against the criminals, who's trying to stamp out crime. So all of this stuff is explained in Another Vision, in our documentary. So, we lay it out in what I think we make a really convincing case. We show the social aspects of what they're doing inside their neighborhoods to provide for the people, to protect them, keep neighborhoods clean, provide clean water, food, activities for children, education, this kind of thing. And they're under constant attack from the police. One more thing I should say about Barbecue is if you read, if you read the newspapers, any of the U.S. media on him, or listen to Haitian opposition figures who testify in Congress, just 5 minutes away from where I live, they'll all say Barbecue and the G9 were created by Ariel Henry and his political party called the PHTK, the Haitian Bald-Headed Party. They say, they're working on behalf of the government. Yet, right? Here's a perfect example of how stupid that is. Right now, Jimmy Cherizier is holding up the main fuel terminal where Haiti gets most of its fuel, right? He's blockading that. He's standing at a barricade, and the police are unable to dislodge the G9 from there. So the government and the police are trying to get rid of Jimmy Cherizier to stop him from blockading this fuel terminal so they can continue, their standard business, getting back to, how things were. But people claim that he's a tool of them. So that doesn't make any sense. It's obviously a major contradiction. And, we show in our documentary that the police carried out a massacre in Jimmy Cherizier's neighborhood. And they destroyed about 60 homes and left hundreds of people homeless and killed about 20 people. So how does that make sense that he's a tool of the government and the government is carrying out massacres in his neighborhood? It doesn't make a bit of sense because it's obviously false and they never present a shred of evidence. So that's the other key thing to keep in mind.
Now, wasn't he previously an officer?
Yeah, he was a cop. So he was basically just a straight arrow cop, and he was in a riot. Actually a decorated cop. He was in a riot. Like a unit called UDMO that deals with like riots and protests and that kind of thing. And, was kind of well respected. And then basically, long story short, the government burned him. They scapegoated him for an operation that kind of went awry and innocent people were killed in a gun battle. And so the government actually... some of the cops were killed too. So Barbecue was in a very like close quarter gun battle, and some of his cops were killed. Some other criminals were killed, and there were innocent people who were caught up in the gunfire. And basically, he was the next day. The government, the prime minister, do a ceremony honoring those cops, saying condolences for your fellow cops killed in the line of duty, and we actually obtained photos of it, and they're in the documentary. They've never been published, and then like 2 weeks later, all of a sudden there's a report that comes out from this NED funded human rights group that says Jimmy Cherizier committed a massacre and blah 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 and all this stuff, and he gets fired from the cops. And at the same time that he got fired from the cops, he is having this like social revolution, improving his neighborhood. And so then he starts getting courted by the opposition and by these elite interests, and he rejects them. And so everyone, they just wanted him to like do the dirty work, go kill this person, go kill that person, go burn down this place, and he rejected it. He said, no, I'm not going to do that. So basically there's this process of radicalization with Jimmy Cherizier, where he goes from like a cop who was like, yeah, the system's flawed, to like, wait a minute, this is insane. And this system is not just flawed, it's apartheid. Like that's what he called it to me. He's like, this is a racist system. This is apartheid. As a cop, I could only, bust people who were poor, who were from my same social class. I couldn't bust anyone who was like, rich. And I would see them meeting with the police chief. And that's what we did. So basically he's been accused by a series of he's been accused of committing a series of massacres. I've investigated. There's not a shred of evidence, and all the evidence does indicate that these were actual battles with criminal armed groups of him or guys who he became allied with, basically getting rid of criminal elements. So that's
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't help but draw comparisons to Black Panthers in our country. I just can't help thinking of Fred Hampton and does Barbecue know, like, does he comprehend like how much his life is at risk?
Yeah, I mean, he's been, there have been attempts on his life. He was shot last year and narrowly survived. I think basically the bullet didn't hit any vital organs and he survived. So definitely he understands that, at least locally there are elements that are gunning to take him out. I don't know if he understands how bad the US wants to take him out, which, maybe he's going to have to kind of figure out at some point. But yeah, I mean, definitely, he knows he's under threat, and he knows, not only is there a physical threat against his life, but they're trying to destroy his image in order to prevent people from, flocking to him. And so there's this whole process. So one of the things he does, I mean, not right now because they're in a, major battle, but when things were quieter, and you see it in my documentary, is he just goes through the slums and talks to people about revolution. People living in the worst conditions, and talks to them, and helps some people get medicine, helps people get food, this, that. And that's how he gets people to kind of understand what he's really about.
Do you think, I mean, and this is conjecture, but do you think, worst case scenario, something happens to him, do you think there will be enough of people for an uprising?
I mean, if he gets taken out, I have no idea what would happen, but it would definitely be a major fracture for the G9, because I mean, one thing is, it's not like it's not a political party where you have like cadres, and there's a really specific political ideology. I mean, the G9 is nationalist, so they talk in terms of Haitian nationalism, and Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and what he wanted for the children of Haiti, and so they could all have opportunity and benefit from the land and that kind of thing. So, but there's not, like a really highly developed political ideology, which you might say that's a weakness. I don't know if I want to say that, but I don't know what would happen, but it certainly would be bad for that movement, because he's the guy who's really brokered these truces. I mean, the establishment of the G. So there's the G9 family and allies. The G9 family are the actual members of the G9, like the original members. Then they brokered truces with groups that they called allies. They're not actual allies in the sense that, like in English, we think of, they're like, if you're an ally, you're like, next to each other. It's actually that they had truces. So some of those allies were groups that had been involved in criminal activity, but basically Barbecue's whole thing was, I don't care what you've done before. I don't care, you've attacked my neighborhood, you've killed innocent people in my neighborhood, that kind of thing. It's like we all have to unite in order to have a revolution against the people who are giving us guns to kill each other. That's his whole mentality, and that's a real revolutionary mentality as far as I'm concerned. Understanding that, if you just, the little people are fighting each other the whole time while the bosses are just making money, then that's exactly what they want. So it's like, put the differences aside, make truces, and then change the system.
Absolutely. That's powerful. I want to show the trailer so you guys can see it. Bear with me one moment. Let me see. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. Give me a heads up if this works. Can you see the green?
Yep.
Nice. All right.
Maybe if you make it full screen, then we can't hear it is the only thing. Joy, I can't hear it.
Oh.
I might be able to play it through mine. I think I have it.
Yeah, mine's at full volume.
Yeah, I think I know why. Let me see. If I can play it here. All right, I can make it happen.
All right, let me close that.
There we go. Got it? There we go. Okay. Shall I?
Yes, you shall.
Okay. Here goes.
A nation in turmoil, ravaged by empire, neighborhoods at war, the state on the brink of collapse, revolution in the air. A man at the center of it all. To some, a villain.
Jimmy Cherise alias Barbecue, li te vle guide nous non façon pour nous voler même Javel.
He's a criminal. He's not revolutionary.
To others, a hero.
Faut mener à chercher manger pour manger.
He is a revolutionary leader.
C'est grâce à déporter avec Monsieur Barbecue qu'a fait vivre.
Join us as we seek to uncover the truth about the uprising in Haiti today.
Pas qu'à avancer devant là, devant avancer à tirer sur. Attention. Wait, watch out, come here. Je système nan di nou pas qu'à révolutionnaire, parce que on dit révolutionnaire pas contre les chouquets. Je me dis ça au blé. Mais nous connaissons nous pas les chouquets nous pas voler. Il aime la différence entre gang, policier, à moun qui fait révolution.
They have to have a revolution. It's got to happen.
I can't wait to see that. It looks so freaking good. I cannot wait to see that. What, out of curiosity, what were they like mashing in those buckets?
Oh, it's I think it's like cassava. It's like a food. It's kind of like a potato almost sort of.
Because they do it like a
starchy
dance or something. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, they got rhythm. No, but I mean that's hard work. Yeah. So
do you think that people were receptive to you interviewing them, and were people willing to speak to you?
Yeah, it depends. Like in Jimmy's neighborhood, for example, if you saw the guy who says, "We got to have a revolution. It's got to happen." That's a guy who I've gotten to know really well. His name is Mario. He's a Haitian American. Grew up in Haiti, then came to the U.S. when he was in his 20s, and then he went back to Haiti. I think about 10 or 15 years ago, and his house was destroyed by the cops. And he saw us coming to Barbecue's neighborhood where he lives too, and he saw myself and Kim, and he was like, "Who are these guys?" He's like, "I've talked to foreign journalists before, and they always lie. They always like take what he says and twist it." And he went on this whole kind of rant about how he hates these foreign journalists who come in because they all lie. And it's true. It's what they do. But he heard Kim speaking Creole, and he was like, "Wait, this guy speaks Creole? All right, I'll talk to him." And so, we ended up interviewing him, and he's a really key part of the film. So there's a lot of skepticism from some people. Others are scared to talk. People who live in Barbecue's neighborhood, and you see this in the first episode of the documentary. They get targeted in the street, and they've like the gangs, the criminal groups that are allied with the police and the government. They've killed a whole bunch of people and tortured them and just murdered them in really horrible ways. And so they're really scared to go on camera and say anything and that kind of thing. So they just kind of keep a low profile. So it sort of depends, but on who you talk to. But if you just go to like Champ de Mars, the like kind of central square in Port-au-Prince, then yeah, people generally will talk to you. Kind of just depends on the circumstance.
Well, one of those scenes looked pretty scary. Were you scared for your safety at all? I mean, I think people could see when you have a camera that you're kind of a tourist or an outsider or something. Did you fear for your safety?
Well, there's not really any tourism there. But yeah, I mean, there are kidnappings that happen frequently. Obviously, me being what they call a blanc, like a foreigner, sticking out like a sore thumb with my pasty white skin, makes it real obvious I'm not a local. And so, driving between different neighborhoods is a little bit heads up. You're kind of always watching if anyone's following you, trailing you, that kind of thing. When you're with barbecue in his neighborhood, it's safe. However, when we're going towards the margins of the neighborhoods, these neighborhoods that are fighting it's literally just right across the street from each other, and so there can be snipers posted up. So that scene where in the trailer where he's crouched down and he's walking, that's to avoid snipers. And I'm just I didn't know at that point what is the reality of how dangerous is this, but I just went with it. It's just like move fast, stay low, and just go. And I mean, so I don't know. That's sometimes it's just part of journalism. You just go, and maybe later you're like, wow, that was a little more heady than I realized at the moment. But it's not like we heard like gunshots or anything like that. But it's very normal to hear that there.
Right. Wow. Well, I do want to start talking about Assange a little before we end. But please, plug the film. Tell people, where they can find it when it comes out and everything like that. Because I really, really am looking forward to it, and I hope people check it out.
Yeah, we're in the process of finding a distributor. I'm pretty sure we have one nailed down. And I'll be making an announcement on that as soon as possible, because as you can imagine, we're desperate to get this film out. Now is the moment. It's so relevant right now. So announcement forthcoming on that. Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see a little bit.
So yeah, but definitely follow Dan on Twitter, because posts a lot of incredible articles and clips and all that fun stuff. You shared a clip the other day of Stella Assange, and oh my God, I was cheering. It was so freaking amazing. She, clapped back at John Bolton, and it was fucking beautiful. It was so amazing. And she's so supportive of all of us and everything she followed me the first time I put free Assange. Like, she is so amazing, and my heart goes out to her. I can't even fathom. But you'll be speaking again at the DC event on Saturday. Comrade Misty and is one of the organizers. We both spoke, and I believe it was April in DC at her other one at the DOJ. And it was so reinvigorating. It just makes you want to step up, and it's so nice to have solidarity, with people. That's the best thing about actions. And Saturday is going to be freaking insane, because the speakers are just ridiculous, and I have a wedding, and I'm so heartbroken.
Oh, no.
I am so heartbroken. I was crying. I was like, are you sure it's the same day? Oh my God, I was so upset. But live feed, I guess, is the next best thing. But if you guys are anywhere near DC, y'all better get off your asses and go, because this is so freaking important. Dan, you've been a long time Assange supporter. As a journalist, how, it's kind of like a rudimentary question, but I don't think everyone fully grasps just how freaking important this is. Like, if Julian gets extradited, but one of the things Bolton said was, he's like, he will get due process if he comes to the United States. Come on now. So reality, if he gets extradited, what are your fears?
I mean, if Julian Assange, I mean, first of all, yeah, I want to say like Stella Morris is fantastic and just a total hero. And watching that Bolton clip of her just dressing down war criminal John Bolton was so satisfying. And obviously to see Bolton just take that, but also just seeing her poise and composure, considering the psychological pressure she's under, to raise, the two little boys they have, and to go on TV and put herself in the media and face down just a cretin like Bolton, and really just calmly demolish him. That was just incredible. So, I mean, it's absolutely important. It's essential that we all speak out in against the imprisonment of Julian Assange, totally unjust imprisonment, and the absurdity of charging someone who's not even a U.S. citizen with treason. There are so many levels of hypocrisy and absurdity to it. If Assange does get extradited to the U.S., I mean, it's the death knell of freedom of speech, of the First Amendment. We can't say, I mean, freedom of speech has long been under attack in this country, but it's just the most clear symbol that we have entered a new era. It's kind of the cherry on the cake of a new era of fascism. I think it's fair. Yeah. I think it is really what it should be called. And you can say I would call it like neoliberal fascism, where, we might have the first, female Black vice president or this or that, or they tokenize and have the first whatever it is, to make people think that there's progress, but that just becomes a cover for the most heinous agendas being pushed. And everything that Assange and WikiLeaks have exposed over the years from, it's a cover for that, from, of course, the more well-known crimes that the U.S. has committed, like collateral murder, of course, U.S. gunships, murdering journalists in Iraq, Reuters cameramans. I think of the murder of Jose Couso, a Spanish cameraman who was in the Palestine Hotel in Baghdad, and a U.S. tank shell killed him. Thanks to WikiLeaks, we know that the U.S. pressured the Spanish government to basically drop the case. So we didn't. So it's not only the well-known cases, but it's and of course, Vault 7, all of the leaks, that we know about CIA spying and surveillance. But it's also the everyday, the inner workings of empire, of how cynical and corrupt and just brazenly anti-democratic the U.S. government and its vassals are around the world. So, I mean, any journalist who's covering foreign policy of any kind, who's honest, who actually, is trying to hold, truth to power, looks at WikiLeaks. That's one of the first things I do whenever I'm, looking at whatever it is, Venezuela or Ukraine or whatever. I search WikiLeaks, and often it turns up something that's essential, that's totally important. And we would just know so much less about how our government operates, about how our ruling class operates, if it weren't for WikiLeaks. And so we owe every American, every person, and who lives in the U.S. empire, and that's global, owes a debt to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. And we need to fight to free him, and not only for his own sake, but for the principle of freedom, for the principles of freedom of speech and liberty and dignity, and also for his family and for his little kids and for himself. He's been locked up for way too long, and he shouldn't have ever been locked up for a day. It's totally unjust, and Assange has to be freed right now.
Absolutely, 100% free Julian. Uh, oh my gosh, I wish you so well Saturday, and my heart is broken. I won't be there. But I know it's gonna be kick-ass, and I'm just so proud of all of you for holding it down. It's so freaking important. Um, so, and any lasting thoughts, whether it's on Haiti, on Assange, anything you want our audience to take away?
Well, I mean, as far as me, I mean, I'm just, I live 5 minutes away. So if I didn't go and show my face and speak at this rally, I just should be completely ashamed and should just leave journalism. So big shout out to Comrade Misty, who is just one of the most dedicated organizers out there and is pretty much the nicest person out there too. So, and has, no personal gain, by spending her time and money, on, working so hard to put together, this rally. And so, so I want to just give all the respect and acknowledgement to Misty and everyone else who's involved with this too. I think that I see an awesome comment from Richie. WikiLeaks confirmed all our suspicions. If Julian Assange was freed, we'd probably have evidence that the U.S. bombed Nord Stream 2. Exactly. This is exactly the thing.
Absolutely.
There was this short period of Cablegate where we saw into the inner workings of U.S. empire. Imagine what we'd be seeing now. I think of the infamous email from Jake Sullivan back when he was Biden's, he was working under Clinton, and he emailed Hillary Clinton saying Al Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Which if you were to say that, you'd be called some kind of conspiracy theorist, but that was true. And now, so we have Nazis on our side in Ukraine. And that's, what Jake Sullivan would be emailing to Biden today. We'd be, we would probably know that the obvious, we'd have confirmation of the obvious that the U.S. carried out a terrorist attack on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We would probably know about, that the U.S., we'd have the smoking gun evidence that the U.S. knew and probably had a hand in the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse. We'd know more about the involvement of the United States in the assassinations of, some 1,500 social leaders and ex-combatants in Colombia. About the drug trade the U.S. is involved in. There's so much dirty stuff that, we just got we peered into this window for a period of time. And so we can basically extrapolate and understand that the U.S. has continued, of course, to do that, and has punished Assange for revealing those secrets, and also not only for the sake of punishing Assange, but also to send a message to anyone else who dares do something similar, whether it's someone who has a conscience and who develops a conscience in that inside, and has access to files or documents, and decides to leak them, or a publisher or a journalist who wants to talk about it. Kind of the whole idea is to strike fear into our hearts, or anyone just on Twitter, if you're worried about on social media, if you're worried about your career, your family, that you don't speak out. So that's what it's all about, is creating a climate of fear. And the more that they create fear, the more that they, take power. And so I think it's also really important to just point out that while we are few in numbers, there's not going to be 5,000 people at the rally. It's essential that we do it, whether it's one person or 1 million people. We do it exactly the same, because the principle doesn't change. And it's not about, we can't control the results. We fight anyway. And so that's that's how I see it. So thanks a lot for having me on, Joy, and yeah, free Assange.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you everyone for watching. 2 quick updates. Yesterday, myself and 2 of my comrades at March for Medicare for All met with yet another congressperson. This one was Andy Kim of New Jersey, and we got in some hot jams, like calling him out for taking big pharma money and all kinds of fun stuff. And I recorded it. So last night on my show, I played the audio. I've already gotten an email from his staff. Everybody chip into my bill just in case. But yeah, you have to check that out because me and Ricky Rance, damn, did we go savage, and it's freaking amazing. And then also, we still need videos from any kind of testimonials. We need actual evidence. We have a few dozen videos, but we need that for our. We are filing a complaint to the Human Rights Council of the United Nations for leaving millions of people uninsured to suffer and die. And it's never been done in our country's history. So we've been working with human rights lawyers for over a year. We're all volunteer, and we have done this formal complaint, and it is getting down to the wire. So we want to submit your testimonials with that complaint. We need to hear from you. We need to hear what the trauma that you're going through because of lack of insurance or, expensive insurance or anything like that. We need to hear your stories. You will be a part of history if you submit that. Do we trust the UN? Of course not. But by doing this, we get it on record that the US does not care about us. And we also get to fantasize about Joe Biden having to answer to our complaint. Yeah. So that's exciting in itself. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Hit that like button and subscribe to my Rockfin as well. Dan, thank you again so much. And I cannot wait to see what's next in the future.
My pleasure. Thanks, kid, for having me.
Absolutely. Good night, everyone. Much love.